Welcome to the Modernize or Die podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome to December 31st version of the Modernize or Die CFML News Edition podcast. And
What's up? Oh, sorry. Did I jump the gun there?
So who's this? Who are you, noisy bugger?
I'm so excited for the new year. I'm just ready to go. I'm Brad Wood from Ortus Solutions.
Cool. Yep, so, and I'm Gavin Pickin.
I saw some. Actually, do you have this tweet in the show notes? Somebody tweeted the other day about how there were some time zone kind of screw ups with dates, and that the last day of the year would I think was it Ryan Gill who did it? Anyway, the last day of the year was going to be kind of screwed up. It was going to report us the next day and stuff. I'd forgotten about it, and then on the Slack team for the Adopt Open JDK guys, somebody mentioned today that all their builds today are showing up as having a 2020 timestamp. So I think they might actually be bit by some of that time zone locale nonsense.
Yeah, well, I mean, New Zealand, it's already tomorrow. It's already the 2020. It's 5 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, so we could basically say Happy New Year at this point. I'd say by all respects, it's already next year.
Yeah,
technically.
Yeah, it is. In some places, it sure is. I think in England right now, isn't it about 10 p.m. or something? So they're getting ready. They're probably out having a drink or something, getting ready for the new year. So for those of you who are watching live, we thank you for making it an important part of your final day of the year.
6:00 p.m.
Oh, it is?
In the UK.
Wow.
Which reminds me of the Mr. Bean episode on New Year's Eve. It's a really funny one.
It sounds like we should be watching that tonight as part of our end of year celebration. But we got a few more things to discuss, a bit of news. Not a whole lot, because hopefully you guys had a great holiday and you're actually doing some work on your family and not on your work.
Until you said on your family, I was like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
It's been a busy week for me too, so not as much work done as usual, but sometimes that's good. You need a break, recharge, and then get ready for next year.
I mean, I just caught up with all the dishes that were created on our Christmas Day dinner. Started with like everything washed in the house, and then Christmas Day and cooking ham and all the stuff, and then it was just like a mountain of dishes. So yeah, forget work. I'm still digging out from under that.
Yeah, well, I had to move my in-laws in as well. So not only did we do with Christmas and presents and all that stuff, we had to move half a household into our house. So
and didn't you have like Noah's Flood Part 3 or something going on there in Bakersfield?
I do. I have to finish digging some ditches later, but important things were inside the house. Outside the house can wait. So, but I've got a couple of dry wells I have to install and everything for the.
Oh my gosh!
Because usually a couple of inches is all we get all year. So if we get more than that, like the whole world shuts down here.
For it to go.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, about that news.
Yep. So for those of you who've been paying attention to Twitter lately, you'll see that Vicky Ryder has been posting videos from CF Summit Las Vegas in 2019. So she's been releasing them, and right now on the playlist, we'll share that link in the show notes, but there's a Google playlist, and it has 14 videos so far. So there's the keynote, there's something about the specialist program, and 12 sessions. And you're up there, right, Brad?
Yeah, mine's been posted. They found
Luis's
like the dorkiest picture of me ever for like the screenshot of it, but it's what they do.
Yep, it's pretty cool. They've got Vim-Mos if you guys want to see some some artificial learning with reinforcement learning. That if you want to hurt your brain, watch that one. It's really cool, but he goes into some detail of how he does it, and everybody walked out. It was like one of the last sessions on the last day, and everybody walked out going, "My brain is dead. That's it. We're done." He's a crazy smart guy, and last year he built a little game, and this year he's sort of like a Pac-Man game in space where he's eating stuff and it learns based on the reward system that's set up. It's pretty neat. And
who's the guy that did that one?
I think it's Minvo. Always
okay. Yeah, I recognize the name.
Yep. So, but last year did a React session as well. Pretty cool. So, yeah, there's already 14 videos up there so far. She's releasing more. She's trying to get them all out. So we'll be getting more released there. So follow on Twitter. They are being released on Facebook too. So if you guys follow the Adobe Cold Fusion channel, you'll see them popping up there as well. And there's a blog post that we'll mention as well. Talks about what she's releasing and where, and you can also get the slides in the show notes too. So if you want to actually follow along with the slides as the presenter is presenting, you can do that, or go into more detail. So very cool. So those you didn't attend, you can catch up on what you missed, and if you did attend, you can catch up on the other sessions because there was like 4 different sessions at once. So it's a pretty big.
And your
conference.
brain might have been full.
Yep, definitely our stomachs with all that great food over there.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Anyways,
never disappoints.
Yep. So last week we talked about how QB7 was released, hot off the press.
That's old news. QB7. What are you talking about?
Yep. Now we got QB 7.1. So in the last week, Eric has added Lambda arrow functions. They're now allowed wherever closures are allowed. And there's also an add an order by raw method. So if you want to pass an order by, instead of doing each individual element, you can just do a raw order by with all the different pieces. And it also allows for fully qualified column names in the value and values method. So he's gone and added those. So I guess Eric was working this last week, not so much on the family.
And for those non-New Zealand speakers, an order by roar is an order by raw. Just in case you thought it was like a lion or something.
Yeah, thanks, Brad. I haven't been teased about my accent today, so there we go.
I'm always here for you, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting though, to see all these QB releases. I mean, how do you think Eric gets up so high so fast? That's all he does, release stuff. Good times.
Yeah. Well, remember, he actually uses Simver properly.
Yep.
He even has a module that he uses for that. Maybe we should talk about that one sometime.
There's a module for that.
Yep. But
if only we had some forum, Gavin, whereby we could feature a module on, say, like a weekly basis.
Yeah, I know. We should do a podcast for that. So next on the list is the Cold Fusion for the next decade. So Rex Sheaf is going to be doing a webinar January 16th. So you can find out all about what's coming in 2020 and what they've got the vision for 2020 and beyond. So if you guys saw the keynote at CF Summit, which I think is available, there was a good taste of it there, but this, I think, is going to go into a little more detail, and we're getting closer and closer to that 2020 release date, so I'm sure they're going to have a little more, info in there, a little more sneaky stuff, so jump in that. Speaking of 2020, though, have you heard anything about the pre-release program yet, Brad?
If I did, and I told you, I'd have to kill you.
Well, just have you heard? I didn't say what's in it. I think you're allowed to say if you've got anything from them.
No, I have not heard anything. I signed up for the 2020 pre-release. If it's going on right now, it's going on without me. So
okay,
I would have right missed the emails. I don't know. I haven't got anything about it. So
okay, so I wonder if that's still available. If you guys search, there was a blog post about the pre-release program on Adobe. Coldfusion.adobe.com. You can check that out. But registering for this. Hold my breath here. cfwebinar-cf2020.meetus.adobeevents.com is where you go, or look in the show notes.
Chat.
Yeah. Not everybody watches the YouTube version, so they don't get to see it. But yeah, and sadly, I must admit that I had a boo-boo. Last week, we recorded our awesome special episode with Ben Nadal, which was a lot of fun. It felt like a good episode. People listened, so they really enjoyed it. The issue was that when we uploaded to our podcast provider, there was an issue with the audio, so it didn't get processed. So today, someone mentions that, hey, I thought you guys released the thing for Ben Adele already. I'm like, it's on YouTube. Is it not on your podcast player? They're like, nope. So I went and looked, and it said error processing audio file. So something must have gone wrong on the upload. It looked like it went through, but it didn't.
There was just too much Ben in that audio. It was too awesome.
Yep, Ben broke the audio feed. So I fixed it today. I uploaded the new audio. So if you missed last week's audio version on your podcast player, I'm sorry. It's available today already. So it should be there now, but I apologize. I wanted everybody to have Ben on Christmas Day, but sorry, if you didn't watch the YouTube video, you missed out until now. So
this our little blurb we have here for the Adobe Cold Fusion podcast says it's a pivotal release. Which, speaking of pivotal, we don't have this in the show notes. It's not really a Cold Fusion thing, but a lot of you guys are probably familiar with the company Pivotal. They used to own the Groovy language. They're kind of a house for all sorts of Java-y open source stuff, and they have a big kind of cloud presence right now. VMware purchased Pivotal for $2.7 billion this week.
That's billion with a B, in case you can't understand, Brad.
That's a lot of miles per hour. Studio C reference for you. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to see how that'll work, just because, Pivotal has a lot of products that kind of compete out in this web space and cloud space. And I mean, I've used some of their open source stuff. Be interesting to see what that will look like with VMware taking them on. Kind of wondered, are all the original Pivotal people just like taking that 2.7 billion and they're like, we're done, retired?
Yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of contract negotiations for who stays on for how long and all that. But I'm sure that a lot of the key people got a pretty good chunk of that pie. So
Luis and I are going to DevNexus this year, and Pivotal always has a booth. So and in the past, they've had up to like 12 speakers at DevNexus. They're usually like a huge sponsor. So I'm sure that there'll be some kind of booth that still represents whatever the heck they are.
I mean, they're not losing their name; just VM owns the name, right?
I assume so. I mean,
because you'd hate to give up that type of brand recognition because it is a big player. So
yeah, I mean, so I assume it'll kind of like come under the wing and they'll slowly absorb. And they've talked about merging some of their their teams, research and development stuff, so they're kind of all working together in the same goal. But yeah, I mean, I would assume the Pivotal name will still be there. And of course, a lot of the projects I think they took on were existing open source projects that were just kind of already under the Pivotal umbrella. So anyway, I don't know. That's my goal in life, is to make something and sell it for $2.7 billion. So
$2.7 billion. Okay, well, we're going to have to add that to the show notes then. So Brad, you can add that in. But other than that, so that's sort of our news. But we've got some conference information coming out too. So obviously, if you missed CF Summit, you can go watch those videos. But next year, you got to start planning for next year. So next year in May, we have Into the Box 2020, which I think is our 8th Into the Box. So it's going to be pretty
You're saying
awesome.
Next year like it's far away.
Well, it is. It's like 3 hours ago in New Zealand.
I know.
And New Zealand's a long way away. So yeah. So 2020. So May 6th through 8th in Houston, Texas. We're going to be at the Woodlands right outside of Houston, at the Hyatt Place again. It's a great little area. We had, every year we keep growing and growing. So we're just going to take over the whole hotel, I think, this year. So, book your tickets early. Make sure you include the 3 days so you can get that workshop in. And right now, since all of our speakers and our workshops are not fully fleshed out and finalized, we have a super, super early bird special. So you actually save.
You want to come to one of our workshops. One of them's going to be what you want. Just go ahead, put it on the calendar, get the tickets. We've already had our first ticket sales for Into the Box 2020. Yep. They've already started coming in. So just get it on there. You're going to enjoy it. It's going to be great.
Yep. So the super early bird special, I believe, is $200 off the price that you'd pay later on. So definitely worth it. And I know a lot of people say they'll pay to see Brad talk about anything. And don't worry, you'll see Brad talk about everything. So
just have an open session. Brad speaks. Like politics, go.
Yep. So
that could be dangerous.
So also, we've got 16 days left if you're looking to be a speaker for Into the Box. Where our call for speakers is open till the middle of January. And yes, it's the end of December, so you got just over 2 weeks. So if you go to papercall.io/ITB2020, get your submission in. We want to make sure we can get all those in by the middle of the month and get that schedule updated and out there as soon as possible. Because I know some of you want to see who's speaking, but we can guarantee you there'll be a lot of great speakers from the Audis team and a lot of great speakers from the community as well. And talking to Ben Adele last week, I think he's actually up for your photo booth idea, Brad. So we might have to make that happen.
I'm telling you, man, need to get Ben to Into the Box. And we can just because everybody wants to get, the little thumbs up picture and be on Ben's blog. I've got one on the rotation. It's my pride and joy.
Yeah, we're going to hook up a printer so you can take one with you. And we should maybe we can have it in the back of the attendee lanyard. We could slide your Ben picture in. You're like, see, that's me with Ben.
I don't know if everybody knows this. Now, when you go to Ben Adele's site, the picture of him cheesing up at people just it refreshes randomly. But there's actually a URL you can create that'll lock in the picture if you want to be able to always hit his site and have your picture show up. Just throwing that out there.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I didn't know that. I know I'm on there. It took me forever, but I finally got on there. I think in DC. I'm like, Ben, I need a picture of you, bud.
DC. Yeah, see, I cornered Ben the first time I saw him at CF Objective back when it was in Mall of America.
Yeah. And that was he was talking about. Is like he had so much fun there. It was like a great venue. DC one was pretty good, but it just wasn't quite as cozy. The Mall of America one just had a bit of feel.
Having to go through like a giant security line there were a lot of problems.
Yeah, they wouldn't even let us bring Starbucks in, right? Not that I drink it, but some people were complaining. But yeah. But so I think we convinced Ben to come out. I told him he's coming. So yeah, definitely check that out. And then we have last year's videos, 2019 videos, available online for purchase too. If you want to get that, there's a nice deal. We can get all of them. And if you did attend last year's, you got all the videos for free. So you can check those out. Yeah, sorry. We'd like to offer them for free, but we're not Adobe. We didn't have the budget to release everything for free. So
it takes a lot of effort to produce those.
Yep.
I'm glad Adobe can do it for free. That's fantastic.
Yep.
Not everybody can.
For sure. And then Into the Box in El Salvador was a big success, so they're already planning to do an El Salvador conference, and I know that we're going to be at CF Camp. They're going to try and possibly throw in a Into the Box Europe right before CF Camp as well. So we've got some interesting stuff coming at you. We haven't got the dates finalized for CF Summit next year or CF Camp yet. We're hoping to get those finalized so we can let you know, so you can plan out your year. But there are some other good conferences out there, as Brad mentioned before, DevNexus, and that's February 19th to 21 in Atlanta. And you love that conference. I love the speaker shirt you have from that conference. It's a awesome looking baseball styled shirt.
Oh, yeah. Last year they were right there by the Braves, the Atlanta Braves Stadium. The speaker dinner was actually at the Braves Stadium, and yeah, they had really cool speaker T-shirts that has my Twitter handle on the back, and it says DevNexus in like the same font as the baseball shirts.
They look cool. I'm super jealous of that one. There's some pretty cool shirts out there, but that's probably my favorite, to be honest.
Yeah, and if you like swag like Luis does, DevNexus, man, they've got more booths full of swag than you can shake a stick at.
Yeah, me and Scott went to one of the AWS ones, the AWS Summit, and that's like the sort of the free one where you get to sort of get an introduction to everything. And man, we almost filled up the back of our truck coming back from there too. Gosh,
your kids get most of the swag anyway,
and my wife,
because squeeze balls and notebooks and pens.
I got this really cool Docker jacket that my wife wears. I got a really cool Turtle Snap, like a monitoring service jacket that like one of my kids wears, because it's hard to find Gavin size clothing.
Gavin size. Yeah, my kids steal most of my cool swag, like socks. My oldest daughter grabs those right up. I never even get a chance to put them on.
Yep. So if you want swag, go to DevNexus. VueConf, we love Vue.js, and so VueConf US is going to be in Austin. I'm thinking I should tell Luis we should have a retreat that week, and we can go to the VueConf and then do a retreat afterwards. Because
Austin's only like 3 hours from where Luis lives.
And isn't Austin pretty close to the location we had our retreat before?
Yeah, I mean, that was right outside of Austin. It was not Tahoe. What was the name of the lake? Travis? Lake Travis? Is that what it was?
Lake Travis, yeah. So, Luis, Eric, and I really want to go to VueConf. I think we could arrange it so we could go stay at the lake house, too. Do a little extra work there. So, that's going to be in Austin, March 2nd through the 4th. And that's going to be pretty good. And then DockerCon. I've been to DockerCon before. We love Docker as well. Last year, it was at the same time as Into the Box, so we missed it. But this year, it's going to be June 15th to 18th. Guess where it's at? Austin, Texas. I guess we're having another retreat, Brad. So Austin's a pretty popular place for conferences next year. So DockerCon's pretty good. They haven't got a lot of the information up there just yet, but if you go to docker.com/DockerCon, you can find out more about it. And I found a cool website called confs.tech. So confs.tech, and it has a bunch of all different types of technical conferences. You choose your country and then look at the certain types of stuff, and it'll give you a breakdown. So I just picked the ones that I've been to or I really, really want to go to. There's a whole bunch there, but we thought we'd just, give you guys a few different ones in case you want to branch out.
Wow, yeah, they have all these categories: JavaScript, DevOps, PHP, security, CSS, leadership is one, Ruby, Android, Clojure, Golang, Elixir.
Yep.
We need to get CFML on this list. Come on, you freaks.
Yeah. Well,
Where's your CFML love?
I was gonna say we need to make sure we submit our
Jeez.
conferences there too, so we're on the list so
Yeah,
people
I
can
mean,
find
you can
out. So.
filter USA, Germany, Netherlands, UK, France, Austria, Spain, Italy, Canada. That's pretty
El
nice.
Salvador, is that there? If not, we could add that
No,
too.
they don't have it. Oh wait, show more. Oh wow, they have a bunch more. Looking for South American ones: Chile, Colombia, Brazil. So they have several in Central and in South America. Oh, Mexico, Peru. Wow, they
Hey,
cover a lot of countries.
and I just saw that it looks like Sam Knowlton's talking. He's in league on here, and he's talking about Lake Travis too. So he says in league boat party on Lake Travis. So if he's
I'm down,
offering,
man.
we're down. So Sam,
As long as there's enough water in the lake. The last time we were out there, the water was like way down. All the floating docks were just like lying on dry ground. Hopefully
Yeah.
they've gotten some rain there.
but yeah, because I believe that in league is based in Austin, right, Sam? You want to confirm that? But I think that's where Sam lives. So
Sounds
we
about
can
right.
Go hit him up, and yeah, that could be fun.
All this
It's fun having a big
Crash
group
on
at
Sam's
conferences.
couch.
So
What could go wrong?
he wasn't offering that. He said you can sleep on the lake.
Well, I didn't say he was offering it. I was just saying we do it like good friends.
Yeah, he says there's plenty of water. So or
And I think he meant there's plenty of couch for us
okay,
to
well
come
that
crash
too.
on.
Well, sounds good to me. Okay, so enough about the conferences. Next on our list, the blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. So it is Christmas, so there's a little bit less content, so you guys will get off a little light here, not too much talking. But James Moberg's been busy. So he's got a
As
Cold
usual.
Fusion UDF he built called isDomain. So I guess the isValid works for like emails and other stuff, but it doesn't work for like domain names or IP addresses. So he built this new one, and he tied into the Apility.io. They've got a new free tier that they provided, which gives you 40k API hits per month. So he decided to, build this UDF and build on top of that. So he's basically tied into it so we can get some data about domains like whois and geolocation. So that's
So
pretty cool.
to be clear, this isn't just like validation, like is the string a valid.com. This actually checks and says like, is it registered with a registrar? Is that what it's doing then?
It looks like because it pulls back whois and stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's
yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah. So it's not really just like a string validation on it. Is it the URL? Is it a domain? It's like, is this registered? That would be kind of cool for anything hosting.
Yeah, because
I actually get a little annoyed by, of course, this is what they do. Like all hosting sites have like a little whois feature, and you go and you punch in a domain, and they're like, "Oh, you can register the .net and the .org." I'm like, I'm not here to register a domain. Go away. I'm just here to look up the whois.
Yeah,
they all do that.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I mean, in here he even has like the simple domain regex set up, so you can see. But yeah, because there already was an isIP and an isURL UDF that was on CFLib. And the isEmail was pretty buggy. So he's done a little bit of extra work here, so that's cool. And then the next blog post we have is actually James talking about how he's migrating his blog to div.2. So that new link we sent was actually at the div.2/gameover. Games over, and that's where his new blog's going to be. So he's going to keep the other one up, he said, but he's been blogging on that since Tumblr, using Tumblr since 2013 or something, he said. So he's finally moving over to div.2. Yeah, div.2 is a big sponsor. They help sponsor Hacktober, so I like what they're doing. I just hope it doesn't become a medium where they get everybody using it and then they start putting up all those pop-ups and all that stuff in the way. So
yeah, they get a little greedy and they're like, wait a minute, we fill this baby with banner ads.
Yep. So he's a short little blog post is saying he's moving over there. I think it started as a conversation in a Facebook group if I was following along properly. So good to see you're still blogging, James. He's got a lot of cool stuff. He doesn't use ColdBox or anything, but he's always got these weird little utilities and everything. Oh, he's even in the chat. So
yeah, he was in here earlier. You didn't see him?
Oh, I just didn't see the comment. I'm too busy reading the notes, Brad.
Good thing you weren't like bad talking him.
Yeah, that's cool. And Yogesh says Happy New Year from this side of the world. So,
oh, dang. He's already in the new year.
Man. Yep. Man, some people just too cool. Sorry, we're a little slow over here in America. We'll catch up one day, guys.
We're a little slow.
But so the next one we had
comment.
So Charlie Earhart had a blog post too, and it was titled, "Should you convert all your CF query SQL to stored procedures?
No.
A different perspective." And that's an answer I like to say, because I like to be able to see my SQL and what it's doing without having to, go look in the database and go into the, or bribe a DBA to show you what it looks like.
Yeah, it's always been an interesting conversation. I mean, I like stored procedures in SQL Server, and I've used a lot of them, but I definitely personally don't like, companies are like, everything has to be a stored procedure. But most of the reason I don't like it is because the DBAs I've dealt with that held that position usually held that position, in my opinion, out of the what's the word?
Fear of job security?
No, ignorance.
Oh,
that's the word I'm thinking of. Because they didn't understand how Cold Fusion and Java and JDBC creates a prepared statement with parameterized inputs. And they thought that all ad hoc SQL wouldn't perform as well, and that it would be full of SQL injection or things like that, which can or cannot be true. But I've come across a lot of sort of like knee jerk, everything has to be a stored procedure because it's quote unquote better, but we can't really explain it. You just have to trust us. Which I always dislike. But I do like stored procedures for some things. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm just kind of scrolling through it now. It looks like Charlie, this is actually one of Charlie's shorter articles. He usually types a lot more. But he's pointing to another article that's kind of his some of the things he's pointing out. So it's
because there's obviously pros and cons to everything, and you got to look and figure out why you should or shouldn't. So I always like those. I don't like someone just saying, do this because I said so. I like to say, these are the reasons why. This is something you got to consider, but, this is all the information you need to make the right decision, Because, I don't like people just, preaching from their soapbox and not giving you both sides. So, next on our list, we have Ben Nadal. Sorry he couldn't be here to host today, but we got Brad, so we'll survive.
But you got the scrape the bottom of the barrel.
Yep, I know. It's the last person I asked. but yeah, so he's talking about considering HTTP methods like put and patch as indicators of an anemic domain model and a leaky abstraction. So this one sounds a little controversial.
Anemic domain. I use the phrase anemic domain model, which is, Sean Corfield used to use that phrase for years and years. He even wrote an entire article in the Fusion Quarterly about it. And I was explaining to my kids what the word anemic meant the other day. And I use that phrase because that's when I hear the word anemic, I always think anemic domain model.
Oh, really?
Funny. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So he basically, he doesn't like update methods in his API design or whatever, and so he's got feelings, but he couldn't articulate them. So he decided to, he read through this implementing domain-driven design by Vaughan Venom, and then it occurred to me what he was saying about it, and so this sort of goes into a way to actually explain his feelings on it, and so basically he says in most cases it's not a good thing. So I'm kind of curious too, because obviously we do a lot of API design these days, and we look at using post and with put and patches and everything, and partial updates versus complete replacement updates and everything. So I'm kind of curious what he thinks of that. So I have to finish reading that one, but it sounds pretty interesting. So we wanted to share that.
Yeah.
And then Ben also read a book too. So last week he posted his review of the Phoenix Project, a novel about IT and DevOps and helping with your business win. And so he's talking a little bit about that. And then
what's the Phoenix Project?
Well, that's a novel about IT, DevOps, and helping your business win. He posted that one, and then this week he's posted the Unicorn Project, a novel about developers' digital disruption and thriving in the age of data by Gene Kim. So he's I find these interesting, when they sort of go behind the scenes and everything. So,
what fictional animal will come next? Like the Hippogriff Project, or like
the platypus?
That's platypi are real.
I know.
They don't do much.
We just don't care about Australian stuff. So
that's pretty cool. It's always good to see interesting books that talk about the market and just
Yeah.
DevOps and what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, the Phoenix project one I've heard about before, but I hadn't heard of the Unicorn project. So I thought it was pretty interesting that they've got projects in the front of their names. So that should be the new thing we do.
Project.
But
I
the blah blah
assume,
blah project.
I assume Unicorn is a reference to like talking about like unicorn developers, like, 1 in a million developers with the exact skill set that a startup is looking for or something. I don't know. I'm just assuming. That's the only time I've really heard the phrase unicorn.
Yeah, I mean, I just like it because it talks about things like being paralyzed by process or being isolated in your team, and so just a lot of different aspects. So I like those type of soft skills and everything. And we'll actually put the link to the Phoenix project one in there. I think it was in last week's one, but if not, I'll add it to the show notes so we can share that there too. So, because and like I said, those are pretty cool. I got my Audible list is overflowing right now, so I got to play catch up here. But yeah. So Scott did ask a question before we get too far on, saying, "So, what are the most common reasons you would use a stored procedure over a standard query, Brad?"
I saw his question. I didn't answer it because I didn't want to go too much farther down that rabbit trail. I figured I could ping him later if he really wanted to know.
Okay.
Oftentimes, if I'm dealing with SQL Server, I'll use a store procedure. If I have like a scheduled task or something that's fairly large, it does a lot of logic. That's maybe just something SQL Server agent runs, or if I have a really complex report that's creating a temp table, dumping stuff into it, updating it, and it's a little bit easier to manage and work on that in SQL Server Management Studio, just modifying a proc and running it. Every once in a while, I've worked on systems that'll have a web app in Cold Fusion, and they'll have also a Java app or some other application that's accessing the same database. They don't have the same shared data layer, and so we'll kind of push some business logic down to a shared store procedure. I don't like doing that because I think it's a bit of a slippery slope. And the places I've worked that were really big on store procedures, I felt those companies pushed way too much of the business logic all the way down to the database level. And it was always kind of under the auspice of, oh, well, we have to share this between the other Java system or the other random reporting system. And so we have to put all this logic down in the database. I actually think that hurts some of those applications in the long run. But those are some of the reasons I've used store procedures. But I mean, I don't have like a hard, fast rule. I don't like creating hard, fast rules. I like rules of thumbs that I can bend. Based
Don't
on
bend
what,
your thumb
what
too
feels
high.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but for me, it's really more a convenience thing. I don't use store procedures at all for security or performance, which ironically is what you largely hear quoted by DBAs. Oh, they're more secure. Oh, they're more performant. When done right, neither of those are correct or properly parameterized. Query using CF query param or the like will create a parameterized SQL statement with a cached execution plan. SQL Server is even smart enough to create cached execution plans and ad hoc queries by substituting where you have like an order ID or something. It does better than you would think. But anyway, I've seen a number of store procedures that were actually vulnerable to SQL injection because the DBAs were very lazy and tried to concatenate SQL, which is horribly ugly to do, to concatenate SQL and execute it in a dynamic fashion inside the database. So my reasons for using store procedures are typically different than the standard, this is why you should use them reasons that you'll hear DBAs about, because most of those I think are nonsense. But I do have cases where I just like it. Cool. Anyway, but yeah, that's enough of a soapbox on that.
Yeah. Good to know.
Good question, though, Scott.
Okay, so then we have Gregory Alexander, who's been working on the Galaxy blog. He actually had three-part series to do with Cold Fusion ORM. He's been working on that, trying to make the Galaxy blog bigger and better, and support more database systems. So he's got Introducing Cold Fusion ORM, which is part 1. Part 2 is Understanding Cold Fusion ORM Relationships. Part 2, and then part 3 is using Cold Fusion ORM to populate the database. So part 3.
Have we talked to him about Quick?
No, we haven't.
I thought there was actually a conversation the other day in Slack about that.
Well, you might have had a conversation in Slack about it. I'm not sure.
I don't think I had it. I think I just saw it.
Oh, okay.
Gregory Alexander.
So yeah, so if you're working with ORM, he mentioned the John Wish's book, which is a good one. It's an older book, but it's still pretty relevant these days. It's a good book.
Well, that's because ORM's hardly changed since it came out.
Well, it's probably because some of the engines are still the same. Yeah,
very relevant.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so there's a couple couple more articles for you to read if you're learning ORM or want to get started, or just a touch up there. Okay, and then next we have Ray Camden, and he posted another Vue game. So if you guys don't want to do any work these holidays, Ray's got you covered. Last week we talked about his Sudoku game that he made in Vue, and this week he has a Hangman game in Vue. So he's built these games, and I guess this one is a rehash of what he built way back in 2010 using Adobe Air. So
Air, heck yeah. I love the Adobe Air, man. That was going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs earned it all.
Yeah, I mean, that worked with Flash, Flex, and HTML, I believe, right? You could
because so Air was the runtime you would install on your computer, like a JVM almost, that you could, the same action script based application that ran in the browser as Flash or ran on your phone on Flash would also run on your desktop as like a native app.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I did remember, I thought that was pretty neat, but yeah, Steve Jobs killed that.
Well, yeah, I mean, because I was like, man, I'm gonna like totally dig into this, and I you can write an app and you write it once, it just runs everywhere. Of course, like Java developers were like, JVM, we already had this. But yeah, when it was obvious that Flash wasn't going to be really a thing on what at the time was the largest smartphone market, then it just didn't make any sense, which was so sad.
Yep. So if you guys want to check out that Hangman game, he rewrote it in Vue. So again, make a fun way to start learning Vue if you haven't. And I'm kind of curious. I want to dive into his code later and see how he did it too, and see if there's something I can glean from it. But it's pretty cool. So Ben sorry.
I found the conversation in CFML Slack. It was in the ORM channel, and it was at the end of November. John Wish had actually, at the end, said, "Too long, didn't read, TLDR. If I was looking at using ORM, I'd be very tempted to use Quick over CFORM." And I had a little
very cool
discussion about it.
And then it looks like Sam said that he jumped in or whatever. Yeah, he said he didn't want to jump in and tell everybody to avoid Cold Fusion ORM and use Quick. But I guess if John said it, that's pretty cool. So I guess Eric must be doing something right with Quick then. So very cool. And then Ben Yell had another blog post, and this one is "Sand in the Gears as a metaphor for people's work capacity."
Sand in the gears
as a metaphor for
I've
people's
ever heard
work
that
capacity. Well, like
sand in the gears.
Yeah, if you get sand in your gearbox, it's going to grind, and it's not going to work efficiently.
What does that have to do with work capacity? It'd be like, how many gears do you have?
Well,
sand in the gears. When you search it, it brings up a YouTube video. I don't think that's what I want.
Yeah, well, I mean, he said the metaphor comes to him from Rich Armstrong, which is an engineering manager at his Envision. And I guess he's a wizard with metaphors. But but in this metaphor, the depth of meshing between gears represents the degree to which people's work capacity is being consumed. Deep meshing means high utilization. Shallow meshing indicates low utilization. So in other words, the more stuff we have, the less focused we can be, the less productive we can be. So we got to get rid of all the sand out of our work and get rid of all those little things that annoy us, like Slack messages from random people. Or stuff like that, and get more productive. So yeah, I like these type of soft skills things. It's the new year is starting, and sometimes we want to rethink our lives, be more productive. Sign up for that 1 week gym membership, that type of thing. So
yeah, apparently sand in the gears is sort of the same as talking about like a monkey wrench in the gears or something like that. Interesting. I'm just like Googling references. Of course, Googling sand in the gears actually brought up Ben's post as one of the top results.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the big thing is like, unplanned work gets in the way. There's little things that pop up and, pull you out of your flow, distract you from what you're doing.
Yeah, little things that get in the way of operating efficiently.
Yeah. And like the big thing that a lot of people say for efficiency is don't plan your work when you're doing your work. Try and have a session where you're just making decisions, and then when you're doing your work, you don't have to make decisions, you can just work. And so a lot of times people have like a review at the end of the day of what they did and figure out what they're going to do tomorrow, and then when they're there, they just doing it. And that's why planning user stories and stuff can be good too, because you don't have to figure out,
Yeah.
oh, what do I have to do for this thing here? No, you just do it when you're at that point. You're in doing mode, not decision making mode, because analysis paralysis can get in the way. So
analysis paralysis, I love that.
Yeah.
See, I'm not that good at that, at like planning out ahead of time. This is what I have to get done today. I'm always like, oh, what is there to do today? Oh, look, bug thing. Oh, conversation. Ooh, email. Just like, I'm always very reactionary to like whatever's last to
we
come
can tell.
Yeah, I know. ADD right here.
Yep. But yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. If you can just focus and work, you get more efficient. It's a cool little read here. And then we have that blog from Vicky Ryder too about the 2019 Cold Fusion Summit sessions been rolling out. And she posted this one back, I think, the day after Christmas, or maybe it was on Christmas, saying there's 9 days left in 2019. So they're going to keep rolling out those videos so you can, reflect back on all the great information or catch what you missed. So we'll put that there in the show notes as well. Now, for those of you who missed last week's episode, because I just uploaded it today, sorry about that. The Coding Challenge of the Month, Matt Gifford won it. When we announced it, he finished it up pretty. Oh, no, it wasn't the first announcement. It was the second week we rehashed it. But while we were talking, he finished wrapping up Ray's old UPS source code into a module and put it up on ForgeBox. So he donated his $25 winnings to the charity of Luis's choice. So
I mean, it wasn't $25 billion?
No, we're not pivotal.
So do we know
what in that case?
Do we know what charity Luis is going to put that towards?
I'm not sure.
We should figure that out.
Yeah,
I'm curious.
I know we have a couple charities we support already, so I'm not sure if we're going to use them or try something different. But so last time you were on, Brad, you had an idea for January's challenge. Do you remember what that was?
No.
I'll have to go back in the notes and see what we wrote.
I was just going to ask you, what are we doing in January?
So I was hoping you'd remember so we can talk about it. So
if only there was some site that logged all the nonsense we talk about and we could go back and listen to some auditory, reproduction of it.
Yeah.
If only that existed.
I'll have to maybe listen to one of these podcasts. I'm good at doing them. I just don't listen to them very much because I've been here.
It's weird to listen to yourself talk.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
I mean, to be honest, yeah, being here, talking, and then editing it and then releasing it, I don't want to go listen to it a third time. So that's enough. But I guess we'll have to announce that next week once I look it up there. So we'll figure out what January's task is, and we'll give you guys something to work on. And we might try and do something where it's not like the first come, first serve, or first one to complete it, but we'll try and make it where it's almost a challenge where lots of different people can do it, and then we can figure out a way to pick the winner out of those groups. That way, someone like Matt Gifford who's listening when we tell everybody, doesn't just finish it and spoil it.
You probably had it done by the end of our podcast.
He did. No, it was done. I saw the tweet right after we finished. It was already done. So
poor people listening the next day on their podcasting, iTunes or whatever, never stood a chance.
Exactly. So, yep. So next on the list, we have
CFML jobs?
CFML jobs. So we have a couple of jobs this week through the Get CFML Jobs website. Right now they have 20 positions available with 18 companies and 13 locations in 5 countries. And the first one looks like it's in Quantico. Sounds scary.
Quantico. It says you need an active secrets clearance required. So they could tell you what's in the job, but they'd have to kill you.
So yeah, they're looking for a full-time Cold Fusion software developer with the active secret clearance required, as you mentioned, for General Dynamics Information Technology in Quantico, Virginia. And so that's available. You can get more information on getcfmljobs.com. And then the other one, they're looking for a full-time immediate, not intermediate, immediate Java full-stack developer with Cold Fusion. And that's for Crino Solutions Private Limited in Hyperdad, Telangana, India. Hope I pronounced that correct.
Looks like Telangana.
Telangana. Yep. So a couple jobs there that were new this week, but if you go on the site, it has a lot of positions. And
That one's listed as a Java full stack developer and then Cold Fusion in parentheses.
Yeah, so I think that's interesting.
I'm trying to figure out if they do mostly Java development and also some Cold Fusion, or if they're a Cold Fusion shop, but they're marketing it as a JVM language to try to pull in people that have Cold Fusion experience.
I'm not sure.
It does say 3+ years hands-on experience with Java experience in Cold Fusion. So looks like they are looking for people that already have Cold Fusion experience.
Cool. So there's a couple of jobs for you guys if you're looking. Hopefully, if you're out looking, you find something soon and start the new year off well. Now, our ForgeBox module of the week.
Module of the week.
And this one's one that Brad recommended. So this is one you actually built, right?
I got a bunch of help from Andrew Davis on it. He made it pretty.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
But I think it may have sprung out of a conversation we were having at one point. But yeah, the WireBox Visualizer is one of those kind of just development only modules you can throw on a local development server and kind of play around.
That might have been the challenge, was to add a setting into command box that allowed us to do the dev only option.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, we had talked about how we should do that. See, I already forgot about that. We should have put a ticket in for it. But the WireBox Visualizer uses some little off-the-shelf JavaScript library that creates a little cloud interface on the web page of little circles with lines that are kind of a hierarchy, and it's a little animated thing. You can kind of drag it around, and it moves like a little octopus or something. But what it does is you install the WireBox Visualizer module, and then it registers a little URL endpoint in your Coldbox app. Your site /WireBox Visualizer. And it introspects all of the WireBox mappings, so all of your services, your handlers, the settings you've injected, the logbox loggers, anything that WireBox is injecting into every CFCs, and it builds kind of like this hierarchy of this service has these 3 things injected into it, and this thing here has these 2 settings injected into it. You can kind of just visualize what your dependencies are of your application. It's really just kind of more for the fun of it, just to be able to visualize a large app and see, this service is injected how many different places. I think Andrew Davis had put some cool little icons. So Coldbox settings had a gear or something like that. And then we had some filters because you could filter, only objects of certain types or certain names and things. It was a fun little module. But yeah, if you wanted to take an existing app and just kind of pull up a little visualizer to kind of see how and where you're using stuff, it's fun to play with.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I remember when you released that, you did a little show and tell, and it was pretty cool. Very, very fun. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to see. We pull it up on Content Box, which is, Luis's very well engineered.
Yeah, Content Box has a lot of services and CFCs all wired together.
Yeah.
So I believe it's pretty busy if you visualize Content Box with no filters on it. It's every single thing that WireBox is injecting.
Yeah, and I like the fact you can put filters on it. And isn't that something Andrew Davis added?
Yeah, he helped me add that. I mean, because really the module wasn't that hard to build. I mean, WireBox has inside of it all the metadata of everything it knows about and everything that needs injected into that thing. And all those relationships are just spit out into some JavaScript code that says, this injects this injects this injects this. And then the library just takes all the drawing, work out of it and slaps it on the screen. I wish I had JavaScript libraries like that in 2007. I was working on apps that had very kind of complex hierarchies, and there was just no good way to build a dynamic, visualization of it without doing it from scratch. And now there's stuff like this off the shelf. You can just throw in some JavaScript files and it puts it up on the screen for you. It's really fun the way it kind of moves around. You drag the circles and it kind of adjust on the fly. So it's fun to play with.
Yep. So if you're not having enough fun tonight for your New Year's Eve, pull out WireBox Visualizer.
And waste some time. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So next we have our visual code hints, tips, and tricks of the week. And so this is one that was actually from Vil de Bruin. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Vil de Bruin.
Yep. So he recommended this GitFlow tool built by Victor of Bull, and it's only got about 40,000 installs or something, but it's almost got 5 stars. And what it is an extension that provides integration and support for GitFlow. So GitFlow's, you want to tell us a little more about GitFlow, Brad?
Well, I think GitFlow means something different to everybody who does it. But yeah, I mean, GitFlow is sort of I forget who it was that kind of sort of coined that phrase, but it's just a standard way of managing your branches and your processes of where commits go to and where you merge them into. A very typical GitFlow is to have a development branch, a master branch. You branch off of development for feature branches, you commit the development, you merge into master for releases. It just kind of refers to that process. So everybody that I've seen that uses GitFlow has their own kind of little special way they do it. But
yeah, so this extension allows you to say GitFlow, and then you choose what you want to do. You want to create a new feature branch or a hotfix or whatever, what type you want, and then it basically creates that branch off of it for you. And then from there, you can tell it when it's done. You can do a release or a finish, and then it'll
right.
it'll sort of start those flows. And
I'm looking at this. It looks like you can run commands like GitFlow feature finish, GitFlow feature rebase start.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. So this gives you some tools from VS Code that kind of just help do the Git commands behind the scenes.
Yeah, and we, like I said, we roughly follow GitFlow, but I see some people that they follow it religiously, and
I see
I'd like to learn
it has a
more about
hotfix.
Yeah.
So it's GitFlow hotfix start, because like a hotfix is something that you would branch off of usually the master branch. You would test it, you'd merge it in, and then you'd merge in the development as well. Yeah, that's kind of cool. See, I'm a bit of a minimalist. I usually have a very minimal GitFlow. This is like development master. I hate branches because they're work. So I always avoid, like, I hate just a branch for every ticket. It just drives me nuts because it's like branches everywhere and they don't always get merged. I love just like being as simple as possible. And if it's like a simple feature and you knock it out and just a handful of commits, they just go like right to development. I know a lot of people are like, every single feature, no matter how small, has its own branch and it has to be merged. I don't know. The one thing that I absolutely hate is creating a pull request and then merging it yourself. I'm like, what? Why? Just commit it to dev in the first place. Why did you create a pull request and you turned around and merged it? What was its purpose? Anyway.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just, it's easy to check out if you got those 3 commits together to see one good thing together.
It's not easy.
It depends. And each customer is different. Each company is different. So.
Yeah. I mean, it totally depends on the workflow, especially when you have multiple teams, of like kind of like separate, unrelated teams of people all working in a similar project. That it starts to make a lot more sense. When it's just you and maybe a couple other people all kind of just like working together in a very simple thing, you can get away with a much simpler GitFlow, which is why I oftentimes tell people if they're not sure what to do, I tell them we'll start with the simplest one and then see if after, a few weeks or a month you're saying, man, I kind of wish we had this in a separate branch. And then, yeah, sure, graduate up to a more complex flow, as opposed to starting with the most complex GitFlow you can find online because you're thinking like, oh, maybe we'll need all these far-fetched examples, and then wishing you had a much simpler flow. Because then, it's hard. Well, I don't know. It's not always hard to go simpler once you've started, but it's more work sometimes, I think. I think sometimes people overcomplicate the flows. But in other cases, it does make sense. But either way, this is a pretty cool VS Code module, though, just as far as kind of helping automate some of that. I've seen some similar integrations into like Jira. You create a ticket in Jira and you can have Jira create the branch for you, the feature branch automatically and track it. I assume this is doing similar things.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool if you have a tool that does that. Jira, GitLab, etc. can tie into those and see them. And I think GitLab is pretty neat too. If you just create the branch with a certain format, or if you have a pull request and you use the pound and the number of the ticket, can attach them to it, the issue and stuff. And those are I mean,
neat. For me, like that's like a requirement that my commits at least attach back to the ticket. You can go, of course, Jira makes that really easy. Like in command box, every one of my commits just have the command box -123 number in it, and then I do love being able to pull up a ticket and see all the related commits, because commits that are like just magically appear in your repo and they're like, why did you make this random commit on Friday of July 3rd? And you're like, I don't know. Like those are like the worst thing in the world, especially when they cause bugs and you feel really bad.
Yeah.
So at least if you have it all tied to a ticket, you can be like, well, I did it because of this ticket.
Yep.
Anyway,
So try that one out. Again, it's called GitFlow, and it's made by Victor-of-Bool.
Vector of Boolean. I don't think that's the guy's real name.
I don't think
it
so
sounds
either.
like some sort of programming reference. A vector of booleans. Yeah, C++. Vector bool. I mean, imagine like vector is the data type, and then the square brackets bool is the type.
Yep. So, okay, well, that's our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week. So next we have our Patreon supporters.
Patreon.
Yep. So again, thank you everybody
Showtime.
A lot of you guys are listening, which is really cool as well, and I know that a lot of them subscribed as well.
They only listen to see how we're going to massacre their name every week. That's the only reason.
I love that video clip where the guy's getting all the names wrong in the classroom.
Oh, the Key and Peele. Hey, Ron, you done messed up. Yeah, that's a good one.
So I'm almost tempted to like come up with a crazy version of it, you know.
What if we had an app that took the names and like garbled them all up, so it was like first names and last names from different people? We'd have like Andrew Garcia, Daniel Davis, Don Carr, Dan Bellamy. I don't know. I'm just saying, and we could charge people for this. Like they would pay extra for the privilege of us doing this to our names.
Yeah.
This is why I don't come up with business decisions.
Yeah. See, I listened to Build Your SaaS with Justin and John, the Transistor FM, which is who we use for our podcast thing. They have a podcast about building their podcast business, and they have. Meta. It is. It's pretty cool. But they have a couple of names in there, and they're going to have a conference named after one of their Patreon supporters, because the name is John. Like I think it's John Junta. But every time they say Junta, they go Junta. So now people are randomly using it as like a welcome for, like it's like an inside thing. He got some mail the other day, and someone had a big card written on it that just said Junta. So they're going to have a conference named after this guy. But it's like an inside joke. So
what will it take for our Patreon supporters to do for us to rename Into the Box to be the John Farrar Ortis conference?
That's a good question. I mean, if you go to the Patreon, there's a whole bunch of different packages available.
We used to name the rooms after like our sponsors. We had like the Adobe room or the Ortis room. It's going to be, the Scott Steinbeck room. That's what it's going to be.
Well, I think, I mean, that's pretty cool. We could
the Knowlton snack bar. I'm just saying there's potential here.
There is. I mean, because right now we have like Youngling, Mature Youngling, Padawan. We don't have Baby Yoda. We could make that our base one.
Oh.
We have Jedi Knight, Jedi Master, Chief, Jedi Commander. Do they have commanders in Jedi? This sounds like the Empire Jedi got a little confused there.
I'm not
Jedi Overlord. I mean, maybe we should not talk too much about spoilers.
I, for one, welcome our new robot overlords.
So we have a bunch of different packages. Maybe we should have Baby Yoda and conference takeover. But yeah,
Disney will be suing our pants off soon.
They sure will.
Like just saying Baby Yoda is probably
it's not really Baby
violation.
Yoda. That's the thing. It's not really a Baby Yoda.
But Yoda is the name of the species. It's a Yoda. I mean, they never had a different name for Yoda.
Wasn't there a female Yoda? We're getting off the books here.
You see, when a Mama Yoda and a Daddy Yoda love each other very much, Gavin.
We don't know. We haven't watched that many episodes of The Mandalorian yet. That's only up to episode 8.
I haven't watched any episodes, but
it's actually pretty
friends
good.
Talking about it.
Yeah, I like it. Gives me something to do on Friday.
Mandalorian.
Anyway, so back to the Patreon supporters. We thank all of you who are supporting us. If you're looking to support us, you can find out more on the Order Solutions About Us sponsorship page. But thank you, Andrew Davis, Brian White, Calvin Sitton, Dali, Dan Card, Daniel Garcia, David Bellinger. I tried to do your thing, Brad, where I mix the names up.
I planted the seed.
Tadia Lesnicki, Don Bellamy, Eric Hoffman, Gary Knight, Jan Yannick, Jeremy Adams, John Farrar, Jordan Clark, Joseph Lamory, Laxma Tirahadi, Matthew Clemente, Richard Herbert, Samuel Knowlton, Scott Steinbeck, VJ, and Yogesh Mathur. So
thank you so much, guys. If it wasn't for your support, Gavin and I would have to actually do work or something. So
yeah, so we thank you. And most importantly,
actually, it's really the other way around. It's because of their support we're able to fund the work we do on open source. Otherwise, we'd be stuck on client projects all day long, and there wouldn't be 37 quick releases every day.
Yep, exactly.
QB.
Well, thank you, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hope you've enjoyed the podcast this year. It's the 34 episodes we knocked out this year, which is pretty damn cool.
Well, when did we start? What month?
May. We had a couple of weeks off when I was in New Zealand, and you guys were, there was a 4th of July one we missed and stuff like that. But 34 episodes, pretty good.
We made it past 7.
Yep, we made it past 7 almost 5 times. But hope everyone has a great happy New Year.
Soon we'll be over 9,000.
Yep. So happy New Year, everybody. Enjoy it. Have a safe time, and we'll see you next year.
Yep. Bye, guys.
Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernize.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.